Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about gray whales and the migration that we see gray whales take each year. Not all species migrate, and some only migrate short distances, but gray whales are one of the ones that make very long migrations. And there's other animals that do this, but every year they're going to migrate up and down the Pacific coast. Now, gray whales are baleen whales. Baleen is referring to the teeth, if you will. It's these long hair-like structures that filter out food that they've swallowed. So they're filter feeders. Other baleen whales are like your blue whales or humpback whales. Like all whales and all mammals, they are warm-blooded. And they bear or give birth to live young. And they look similar to some of these other whales that we've seen that are baleen whales. Like I mentioned, humpback whales look similar to this, blue whales look similar to this. And then there's a bunch of other smaller species that still have the same kind of look to them. Gray whales are not the largest of them. They're probably in the middle. Now, gray whales, I said, have this migration, this really long migration along the west coast. Here's California, Oregon, Washington, Canada, Alaska, and Mexico down here. And gray whales are going to take a 5,000-mile journey. And they take this journey twice a year. Because what's going to happen is during the summer, they're going to be up in Alaska. And they'll spend their whole summer up there. This is a time when the Bering Sea is not choked with ice. But then at the end of summer, they'll start their migration down the coast, all the way down to Mexico, and they'll spend their winter in Mexico. The other thing that's interesting about this migration is that it stays right along the shore. They usually do not go offshore very far, maybe a mile or two. So they're very close to the shore and they stay in shallow waters. This is what makes it so easy to go and whale watch along the Pacific coast. When you go whale watching on the Pacific, you're almost always going to see gray whales. That's what you're looking for during their trip from summer to winter down, or from winter back up to summer in Alaska. The reason why they're making this migration is for two reasons. The food that they will eat and stock up on, kind of like a bear before hibernation, is all going to be up in Alaska. And unlike humpback whales that eat krill that are floating in the water, gray whales are going to eat amphipods, tiny little crustaceans that live in mud. And this is up in Alaska, so they'll dive deep down into the sediment or the mud at the bottom of the floor. And they'll scoop up a big mouthful of that mud. And in that mud is where you find all these amphipods, all these little creatures that are living there. And then they filter out the mud and the water and just eat the amphipods. So that's summer in Alaska. But winter in Mexico is where they will go and have their offspring, their young. And there's no food down there for them. But there's a lot of other good things that are down there. One of the things is that the water is calm and it's warmer down there. And generally it's safer. They don't have the same predators down in Mexico that they do up in the up in Alaska and through Canada and all those areas. And they'll give birth to their young in shallow lagoons in Mexico. So again, they're keeping to pretty shallow areas right off the shore. Now, historically, there was a big increase in whaling during the gold rush. And remember, the gold rush didn't just happen in California. There was also a gold rush in Alaska and in Canada, all around the same time in the mid-1800s. And during this time, they needed a lot of oil for lamps, and they used whale oil to light these lamps. So the whaling industry really increased and ended up destroying the population, where you have a population originally that was around that time 15 to 20,000, and then you can see it significantly drop as we get into the 1900s. And even after the gold rush, we were still whaling, and in the 40s and 50s, they almost went extinct. But the good news is, since the 50s, we've put restrictions on whaling, and now the population has risen back up to a healthy level, about 20,000 plus, and it's now stable. So this is a success story. This is an environmental and ecological success story. We had something that was close to extinction. We did something about it. And now those animals are in a healthy and stable population. All right, thank you very much.